Steve Mcqueen, the epitome of cool, harbored more secrets than met the eye. More than 4 decades after his death, his story isn't just about movie stardom. Behind it lay a secret empire, hidden treasures, and a shocking will. Specifically, Steve Mcqueen left behind an enormous fortune, and the way it was amassed and managed was not as legitimate as many might think. Hollywood whispers have unveiled a dark and complex truth, a story far from over. Could this be the true dark side of a legend? From reform school to Hollywood star, Steve Mcqueen was not born into privilege. His childhood was chaotic: an absentee father, a mother who frequently abandoned him, and an abusive stepfather. At 14, Mcqueen was sent to Boys Republic Reform School. There, he learned to fight for survival, self-reliance, and to trust no one. These harsh experiences didn't break him. Instead, they forged him into a tough and independent individual. Mcqueen lived by his own rules. He didn't care about fitting in or following regulations. This rebellious and nonchalant attitude made him distinct and prominent. Although producers disliked his difficult personality, they were captivated by his unique charisma and the box office success he brought. Before Hollywood, Mcqueen joined the Marine Corps. Despite frequent clashes with superiors and periods of confinement, this experience added a gritty, authentic edge to his roles. The inherent danger that emanated from him made audiences believe in his characters. For Steve Mcqueen, it wasn't just acting, he was simply being himself. In Hollywood, Mcqueen didn't need to seek roles sought him out. He was notoriously difficult, unpunctual, straying from the script, even walking off set mid-shoot. But audiences didn't care. His captivating presence on screen made everyone overlook any trouble. By the 1960s, he had become one of the highest-paid stars in the world. The film The Great Escape propelled Mcqueen to superstardom. Though he had few lines, his eyes spoke volumes. The legendary motorcycle jump, even though performed by a stunt double, became synonymous with his name, solidifying the myth of a cool, fearless, and invincible Mcqueen. Then came Bullitt, where he performed his own breathtaking car chases. The car chase scene set a new standard for action films. The green Mustang fastback from the movie became a cultural icon and was auctioned for $37 million years later. His choices on set, however small, brought value far beyond his paycheck. Off-screen, Mcqueen was entirely different from his star persona. He detested extravagant Hollywood parties, often wore jeans to premieres, and avoided the media. Yet, it was precisely this mysterious, understated demeanor that further increased his value. Steve Mcqueen's financial empire. Steve Mcqueen wasn't just an actor. He was a master negotiator who rewrote Hollywood's rules. Knowing his worth, he wasn't afraid to demand it. For the Thomas Crown Affair 1968, he requested a $750,000 upfront payment. With the towering Inferno, he negotiated for a share of the profits, ultimately earning over $12 million. He even charged $50,000 just to read a script, and kept the money even if he turned down the role. Studios still clamored for him because they knew he guaranteed box office returns, allowing him to control everything from his wardrobe to camera angles. What few knew was that Mcqueen was also quietly accumulating wealth outside of acting. He amassed a vast collection of hundreds of cars, motorcycles, and watches, along with land and real estate in California, Mexico, and Idaho. Though he didn't flaunt it, he was incredibly astute in his financial management, silently building a solid financial empire while his peers squandered their earnings. One of his biggest secrets was his arrangement with Honda. Mcqueen held a stake in Honda's motorcycle marketing campaigns in the US. His image helped sales explode, bringing in millions of dollars even when he wasn't filming. This was an ahead-of-its-time branding move, turning his personal influence into a source of passive income. Mcqueen's participation in off-road racing wasn't just for fun either. He used it to promote motorcycles and equipment in which he secretly owned shares. His desert racing lifestyle became part of his brand, and companies paid him just to be seen with their products. He earned millions in silence, transforming his image into a colossal income-generating asset. When Mcqueen passed away in 1980, many assumed he was bankrupt due to his cancer treatment costs. But in reality, his assets were scattered across hidden accounts, real estate, and licensing rights. He had meticulously arranged everything to keep his personal and financial information private. That plan succeeded admirably. Steve's hidden treasures. Steve Mcqueen's plan was astonishingly successful. For decades after his passing, no one truly knew the immense value of the estate he left behind, and to this day, that fortune continues to generate income. Currently, his legacy still brings in millions of dollars annually from licensing his name, image, and film rights. His collection of cars and motorcycles alone is worth tens of millions of dollars. Steve Mcqueen didn't just build a dazzling acting career, he built a colossal fortune that continues to grow long after his last films stopped playing. The King of Cool became the king of the estate. Behind the closed doors of secret warehouses and hidden vaults, Steve Mcqueen accumulated an extraordinary personal collection whose true value was only revealed much later. He didn't flaunt his wealth, didn't wear flashy gold watches or pose in front of colossal mansions. Most people thought he lived a humble life, but behind the scenes, he was building something immense. He spent quietly and strategically, turning his passion for machines into his own empire. By the 1970s, Mcqueen owned one of the largest private motorcycle collections ever known, boasting over 130 rare and vintage bikes. He had a particular fondness for British, German, and American models, including Triumph, Husqvarna, and Indian. Some bikes were custom-made for him, one-of-a-kind versions that collectors would later pay exorbitant prices for. He didn't display them. Instead, they were stored in climate-controlled garages on secluded properties. His love for cars was equally serious. Mcqueen owned nearly 60 high-end, historic vehicles, many of which are now considered irreplaceable. He had a 1963 Ferrari 250 GT Lusso, a Jaguar XKSS, and the actual Mustang GT 390 from the legendary Bullitt film. He also kept a rare Porsche 917K, one of the most iconic racing cars ever produced. That car alone sold at auction years later for over $14 million. Mcqueen didn't just collect for fun. He was investing in assets that would appreciate over time. Every motorcycle, every car was meticulously chosen. Most had a story or a racing history. He didn't buy them for quick resale or to show off. He bought them because he understood the long-term value of unique, physical objects. What shocked many came years after his death. In 2006, a dusty warehouse in New Mexico was opened by his estate managers. Inside, they found an untouched treasure trove, dozens of motorcycles, stacks of helmets, leather jackets, original film scripts, and even racing gear embroidered with his name. It had sat in silence for decades, completely forgotten. Experts estimated the total value of this hoard to be over $30 million. The discovery of this warehouse became a turning point in how Mcqueen's assets were viewed. Until then, most people assumed his estate simply consisted of some film earnings, perhaps a bit of land. But the warehouse revealed a much deeper layer of assets that were far from obvious. It was like a time capsule holding the relics of a Hollywood king. The items inside were of museum quality, and most had never been seen by the public. Controversial will and family feud. On November 7, 1980, Steve Mcqueen passed away in Juarez, Mexico, after undergoing a secret surgery. He had mesothelioma, a rare and aggressive cancer caused by asbestos exposure, and had chosen to forego standard U.S. treatments. Instead, he flew to Mexico to try Litriol, a banned and unproven substance derived from apricot pits. The surgery was risky, unapproved, and a desperate last resort. He didn't survive the night. When news of his death reached the U.S., The press rushed to report that Mcqueen had died penniless. They claimed his cancer treatment costs had drained his finances and that his estate was gone. But the truth was entirely different. The real value of the assets he left behind was not immediately apparent. What he truly left behind only revealed its worth years later. At the time of his passing, Mcqueen's estate was valued at approximately $2 million. This figure only accounted for liquid assets, bank accounts, real estate, and clearly identifiable holdings. It did not include the rare motorcycles, vintage cars, royalties, and image licensing rights, assets that would skyrocket in value. His team wasn't even aware of the full scope of what he owned. Many assets weren't documented until years after the initial estate distribution process concluded. His will, written in January 1979, less than 2 years before his death, designated his 2 children, Chad and Terry, as the primary heirs. What raised eyebrows was that Mcqueen's ex-wife, Neil Adams, was entirely excluded. Barbara Minty, his partner at the time of his death, was granted some personal belongings, but not a significant financial share. This decision surprised many, especially as they were reportedly planning to marry. The most controversial part of the will was a legal clause specifying the exclusion of any unknown or future children. This meant that if anyone later came forward claiming to be his child, they would be automatically disinherited. Shortly after, one woman filed a lawsuit, claiming her son was Mcqueen's child. She stated she had evidence and sought a share of the estate, but the court dismissed the case due to a lack of proof. Even more surprisingly, Mcqueen's lawyer, Ed Hochstraten, admitted that there were 2 other paternity claims that were never made public. These cases were handled discreetly, behind closed doors. They never went to court, and no financial settlements were disclosed. The existence of these claims suggests that Mcqueen's legal team anticipated disputes. His will was designed to shut those doors early. Another legal issue arose from his collection. Several of Mcqueen's vehicles, motorcycles, and memorabilia were not clearly linked to him on paper. This created confusion over the true ownership of each item. His family had to work with appraisers and collectors to verify authenticity. In some instances, they recovered lost items through auctions and private sales. This process took years and added millions of dollars to the estate's value. The $200 million fortune and the final mystery. When Steve Mcqueen passed away in 1980, his estate was initially valued at less than $2 million. For someone who had been one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors, this number seemed incredibly small. Critics speculated that cancer treatment costs had wiped out his fortune. However, what they didn't see was the hidden future value of his name, brand, and the items he left behind. Decades later, that silent fortune has grown into an estate worth up to $200 million. His personal collection, in particular, has soared in value. The 1968 Mustang from Bullitt was auctioned for $37 million. His racing suit from Le Mans sold for nearly $1 million. Even his personal sunglasses, a pair of Purcells, fetched $70,000. Each auction not only brought in cash, but also pushed his brand deeper into legend. What makes Mcqueen's estate unique is that it wasn't driven by flashy public appearances or elaborately staged biographies. It grew from his own authenticity. He lived a life people admired: fast cars, wild freedom, and quiet rebellion. It was this very realness that translated into profit long after his death. His legacy is far from dormant. His family, led by Chad Mcqueen and later Molly Mcqueen, has inked significant licensing deals, shaping how the world views Steve Mcqueen today. From clothing brands to car campaigns, his image has become an icon of independence and cool style. Each deal adds another layer of income. In 2024, Porsche even launched a special 911 Mcqueen edition, a model designed to honor him in collaboration with the family. This car sold out immediately. Collectors were willing to pay top dollar, not just for the car but for what it represented. Mcqueen didn't just act in Le Mans, he was Le Mans. That connection remains priceless. His old ranch in Idaho, once his private hideaway, is now a secluded family property. The land value alone has increased significantly, but more importantly, it remains a place where his descendants gather, away from the glare of business. This is one of the few places untouched by branding, a silent link to his true self. However, a final part of Mcqueen's legacy remains shrouded in mystery. Those close to his family reveal that a last, untouched archive still exists, unopened and filled with unknowns. Rumors suggest it contains handwritten letters to James Dean, an unproduced Prison Break movie script Mcqueen never made, and an audio recording made just before his death. No one has officially confirmed it, but those close to the family insist it's real. This hidden stash is more than a minor detail. If real, it could rewrite parts of his legacy, revealing personal thoughts, creative dreams, and final messages. Some speculate the recording might contain Mcqueen's reflections on fame, family, and regrets. Others believe it's a message he wanted to leave behind but never shared publicly. The longer it remains locked away, the stronger its legend grows. While fans continue to discover new photos, collectors still hunt for memorabilia, and brands continue to sign lucrative deals, the final vault remains the biggest mystery, the last piece of a puzzle built over decades. Whether it opens next year or never, its existence proves one thing. Steve Mcqueen still has more to say, even from beyond the grave. What are your thoughts on Steve McQueen's secret empire? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next fascinating stories.